Hi, welcome to this 3D Studio Max 2020 group of tutorials, and this is looking once again at creating a sectional perspective or a rendered section using 3D Studio. This is the kind of graphic that we're looking at, and this is a cross section through a 4-story building, kind of showing the structure and the direct sunlight coming in, and also the effects of the natural light you can see coming in on the other side, on the north side of the building. So what the students are doing is kind of analysing kind of the light penetration at different times of the day, different dates in the year. And if I zoom back, we can see just what that entails. Let's just get a zoom here, back off a bit. Okay, so this is kind of the spring and autumn equinox. This is the summer solstice, where the angles are much steeper, and this is the winter solstice, where the angle of the sun coming in is much shallower. And the sun positioner, as part of the ART renderer in 3D Studio, also changes the colour of the sky, the intensity of the sky at that specific time of day, time of the year as well. So you get a different colour of sky, which is a bit more realistic. Okay, so I'll just quickly look at introduce the location. So it's Duncan of Johnstone College of Art in Dundee, and the students are basically taking two bays of the building and kind of scooping it all out, hollowing it out, retaining the primary structure, so the columns, but beams could be adjusted, and the frontage modified, the roof modified, whatever they want to do. So this initial model is really just an analytical kind of model. So we'll finish with with Google Maps, so we can kill that off. So a couple of things to bear in mind as we go on. We need to establish the angle for the sun. The building doesn't quite face due south. It's very close. It's just 4.84 degrees off due south, and this is kind of indicating the kind of portion of the building that they are looking at. So the red line is horizontal, east to west, and the blue line is the face of the building. So we're slightly off the due south there. And another thing we'll bear in mind that we need to make sure is that we get a reasonably accurate location for the building. So I'm going to round this up slightly. In effect, that is 56 degrees and 30 minutes. I'm going to round that to 56 degrees and 30 minutes. Okay, so it'll be 56.5 degrees. And in the longitude, we are very, very close to 3 degrees west. So in 3D Studio's terms, that would be minus 3 degrees. Positive is east, negative is west. Okay, the Greenwich meridian kind of passes down kind of through this line. Okay, so a couple of things to look at, and finally, what we're intending to do is kind of take a section from 3D Studio as well, and bring that back in via AutoCAD. We can kind of plot it to a PDF, and then it can be brought back in and overlaid, so we get this kind of nice kind of line around the section, and that could be filled in or whatever you wanted to do in Photoshop. Also using the channels embedded in the render, this allows us to kind of cut away the background and make things look a bit sharper, a bit more graphic. Okay, so there's quite a lot of components to this, and I'll be splitting it into 3. So this part is the intro and getting the model into 3D Studio. The second part will be how we do the sectioning, and then the third part will be the kind of Photoshop stuff afterwards. Okay, so let's get to 3D Studio now and import the model. And first thing you need to do is check your units. So I'm going to customize unit setup. I want to work in metric meters. So this is the display unit scale, and the system unit scale wants to be 1 unit equals 1 meter. and it just makes it much easier to assign materials and to control the lighting if you use these bigger units as meters. So OK on both of those, and then File, Import. Actually, let's have a quick look at the model before we import it. I've got it open in AutoCAD, so it's nothing really special. It's just taking all the various structural components of the building and just retaining them just now. I'm just kind of showing it as existing kind of structure. Okay, so I have this kind of concrete kind of tray that the building's sitting in. The blue items here, these are the columns. The red are beams. Okay, and the green, these are dividing walls. Some of them are structural. We've got some concrete shear walls, and others are just infill. Okay, and then up the top here, there's quite a heavy ledge that provides a kind of a light shelf that helps bounce light into the top of the building. And then we have this kind of sawtooth roof that provides a north light opportunity here, but it's filled in on this side. The roof's actually kind of solid on that side with big windows on the back wall of the building. So if I just shade that, you'll get a good idea for what's happening. So shaded with edges. Okay, so it's a very basic model. Everything here is just extrusions, all solids. Okay, so we'll pull that. I can close that now, save a bit of RAM. Okay, and we can import that from a folder I've got on my desktop. Okay, it's just called Simple Model. It's in perspective section. Okay, Simple Model. Okay, we want to rescale it as it comes in, so activate the tick here so we get a model that's about 13 by 19 by 17 meters. Weld the vertices with a pretty low threshold. No need for auto smoothing because there's nothing curvy in the model, and a tick in orient normals consistently just makes it tries to make sure everything's facing out the way so that we can see it. So everything's looking good there. Click OK. Okay, I can see here, if you end up with a checkered kind of model here, just click in this viewport and that should get rid of the checkering. I can see there's a little green line there, so there must be some shapes that have come through with the model. So I want to weed those out, so if I go to select by name and look for the item that is a shape instead of a geometry. So I want the shape object here, OK, and then press your delete key to get rid of it. Okay, very difficult to understand what's going on here. We could activate edged faces, that makes things a bit more legible. But ideally, we want to get some materials onto this as quick as possible. So I'm just going to assign 3 materials in total. So I'm using the compact material editor, okay, which you'll find underneath this button. You keep the button held down. Okay, so compact materials editor. Now it's coming up saying the materials here are standard, and I'm going to check my renderer to make sure it's using the ART renderer. So here's a slight anomaly. This should be saying ART renderer, so we'll change that from scanline to ART renderer. Okay, it doesn't change anything in the materials library, okay, but it does give us access to the physical materials which behave better with the ART renderer. So I'm going to change this material type from standard to physical material. Okay, I'm going to rename it to white. Let's use capitals, make it a bit clearer on the screen. Press caps lock instead of tab. So white, and what I'm going to do is start off with a basic material, just a matte paint. Okay, I want to have it the advanced version so that I can control the reflections. Okay, we'll set the base color to strength to 1, and then we'll drag the whiteness slider here. So I click the blue rectangle there, drag the whiteness slider to white. Okay, reflections, let's put those down to 0, just unnecessary rendering time for no reason. So that's ready to go. Now you can add materials by dragging them onto an object, but if the objects are too small or there's too many, you're better to use select by name. So let's click select by name, select top one, hold shift, select the bottom one, OK, and then in your materials editor we can assign the material to the selection. So everything's got the white on it just now. Now I'd like to pick out the beams and the columns differently, just so we've got a bit of contrast here, and also the ground floor here. Okay, so we'll use this as a basis for the next material. So you just click and drag into the next slot, and let's call this structure. Okay, I'll keep the properties the same, but I want to use an image to go with this. Okay, so I'm going to change the base color material, use a bitmap, and I'll go back to my Crawford folder. It's the Crawford building is what we're looking at. Okay, the maps folder, and I should have some concrete materials here. Okay, well let's put concrete on the structure. That'd be a bit more realistic. Okay, so I've got a fairly simple unpanelled looking concrete here. Okay, it's a big JPEG, 4400 by 2500. Okay, we'll open that. Okay, let's preview this. Let's see it a bit bigger. Okay, so it's a good quality high-res photograph of concrete. I'll go back up. Just going to switch the sound off on my phone because it's disturbing everybody. Okay, so that's the base color. We could also add the bump map that goes along with that. Quick way to get to the same folder is to drag and copy the material. Okay, and then we swap it for the bump version. So we're looking again, but this time it's the bump version. So it tends to be this black and white version of the image. And open. I'll just see if that. Yeah, it's made a little bit of difference. It's such a high res one that it's hard to tell the pits and the shapes there. Okay, so this is going to go. I want to see this material, so I'm going to go back up to the parent level, and I want to see the material in the viewport. So show in shaded viewport. Okay, I'm going to put it on the columns first. So I've selected 3 col and assign the material to the selection. Let's maximize that view so we can see what's happening. If I want to turn around, I need to use the orbit command. Okay, so I'm getting a bit closer. And I need to assign some mapping now to make the material show up. So we want to modify that object. Drop the list down, UVW map. You can see something's happening, there's stripes appearing down the columns. Okay, but we want to use box mapping. Looking a bit better already, but it's stretched the material too far. You can see there's a kind of an enclosing rectangle around the whole object, a bounding box. Okay, so it's massive at the moment. So we base this on the size of the JPEG. So it was 4.4 meters wide. Sorry, 4.4 meters long, 4.4 meters wide, and 2.5 meters high. Okay, we can see there's a repeat of a joint here. That's okay. That's kind of what would happen on a concrete structure anyway. Okay, let's put the same material onto the beams. It's pretty non-directional, this one, so we can just use the same mapping. So select object, click on the beams, assign the material, and then modify UVW map, and we can steal the mapping, we acquire the mapping from the columns. And acquire it absolute means you've got separate control if you want it. So that's looking good already. Okay. And let's put a wood material on the floor. So I'll move the model up so I can see the floor. Okay. This is actually going to go onto all of this. I'm not going to break it up just now. Well, let's do that. May as well while we've got control of it. Kill the materials editor for a second, and what we'll do using the left-hand view is we'll break off the front portion and the back portion. Okay, we'll put those onto the concrete material as well. Okay, so we'll click the object we want to break up, and we'll break it up at a face level. Okay, so I'm going to take these faces, okay, hold control and take these faces as well. Okay, you've either got a crossing window or a soft window. At the moment it's using the softer window, and I can detach those. Okay, and I'll use the same kind of naming convention that we've got there. So it's layer : 3 underscore, I'll call this concrete wall. Okay, I don't think that clashes with anything we've already got. No, the other ones are just called walls. Okay, so this is in two portions now. We've got the floor, which we could rename. Actually, I need to stop it picking at the base level, at the sub level. Okay, otherwise it's just going to pick individual surfaces. So pick the whole object, and we'll call this wooden floor. Okay, so we've now got it split into two bits: concrete wall and wooden floor. Okay, let's go back to where we were. Let's put the concrete wall, let's give that the concrete material as well. May as well keep it simple. Assign the material, and once again add the UVW map modifier and acquire the mapping from the columns. Okay, so that all kind of merges together. Okay, so new material for the wooden floor. Okay, and you need to really get all these materials done before you do the slicing for the sectioning. It's a bit messy if you try to do it afterwards. Okay, so we'll call this wooden planks, and we're just going to swap the pictures over. So instead of the concrete here, we'll use the image of the wooden planks. Okay, that looks more interesting. And for the bump map, we want the bump map that goes along with the wooden planks. Okay, we've got two versions there. We could have it just with strong lines, or a bit more textured using this one. Okay, and that is going onto the floor. You can see something's happening there, but it needs its mapping. So we'll modify it again. UVW map. Collect the object first, helps. UVW map. Okay, I can see the planks, but they're enormous at the moment. Very, very big planks of wood, those. The JPEG that we use there If we have a look at the size of it, 3776 by 2.16. We could use that as the meter size, say 3.7 by 2.1. So let's see how that works. So the mapping is planar because it's coming from the top down, and we'll go see which one's which. 3.7. That's the wrong one. So that'll be should be the 2.1. 2.1, and this one 3.7. That looks a bit more realistic size-wise. I think we'll go with that. Okay, so we'll finish with Materials Editor. Okay, and I think that's the model kind of prepped, ready for the scene to be set up. So in the next video we'll start with adding the sun positioner and the camera. Okay, so hang around for the second video of 3.